I got to a different way of thinking. And I thought to myself, well, if this is what they want to make of it, it's entirely up to them.
I mean, I think the circles function in quite a profound way for a lot of people, and then really sort of totally transcend the idea of a prank or a joke. I'm simply going out into the field and laying down a design, and I suppose with that design goes a question to people: what does this mean for you? Why is it there? And how is it there? People are free to answer those questions how they will.
I mean, I have no control over whether people pull the wool over their eyes or not.
It's the people themselves that have made themselves fools. It amused us immensely to think that these people had built themselves up as experts. And I always remember one Wednesday afternoon at Longstock, I met Colin Andrews up there, and he gave me his business card. And he said, if you hear of any circles round about, he said, perhaps you could let me know. And of course, Dave and I used to do a circle one evening and then ring him up the next morning and said, oh, Colin, there's a circle at such and such. And he used to say, well, thanks very much. Thanks for the information. which made it all the fun.
Many of the designs are absorbed into popular culture, and money does change hands during a season. But circle makers are remarkably unconcerned about this.
It's swings and roundabouts. Someone like Colin Andrews, you know, he makes his living off of it, and good luck to him. He's very good at what he does. And in what he does, he supports what we do. He's basically acts as an agent for our work.
No, it doesn't anger me at all. I accept it.
We were a little bit annoyed that people were making money from it, because we used to talk to one another and says, my goodness, look at the books that are being published, look how many copies are being sold, and all this. But the fun side of it overtook that and allowed us to carry on, which is why we did.
It's something which needs to interact with the media, with the public.
People, I suppose, can do what they like with it. I mean, I actually think the photographers that take such stunning photographs of it deserve every penny they get from the photographs. And I'm also particularly pleased when farmers make money from charging people to enter the formation.
By far the most fundamental debate concerns authorship and the effect this has on the beliefs of the faithful.
When crop circles have no authorship behind them, they're a lot more powerful. If they become art or land art, they lose a lot of their mystique, their paranormal powers. People are less likely to believe in something happening, and I think that's very important.
Part of the reason why you go to so much trouble is to kind of take it to something which is seemingly beyond human endeavour. So people go out to the fields, or they see it in the press, and they say, my God, this is amazing, it could not be done by people. But the motivations of the circle makers are to actually push it as far as possible, so people think that it can't be made by people.
What people believe is fundamental to the practice of making circles, but not in the sense of mocking the belief. In fact, you're actually interacting, engaging with the belief. There is a totally symbiotic relationship with the circle makers and the people that research them.
We just have a very separate agenda, which is to, as far as possible, disassociate ourselves from the specific formations. We've never actually specifically claimed a formation, and we never will, because the whole point and the whole power of our work is gained from the fact that they are authorless. As soon as you claim a formation, you kill it.
Whilst many believers tend to ignore formations they know to be man-made, others are more broad-minded.
There's such a big phenomenon going on here, it actually doesn't matter anymore whether some of them are man-made, some of them made from human consciousness, and some are made from ETs. I just don't think it matters.
A lot of these crop artists are contributing, I think, something very important to the phenomenon, actually. And of course, some of them are trying to communicate back.
This formation was made in daylight by two Germans. They are merely one in a series of communication attempts that has been ongoing for 5 years. Inspired by numerous strange photographs and videos, and no longer content with crop fields as canvas, This remarkable piece of footage polarized the circle's community. Now generally held to be fake, it's an indication of just how far some will go in their efforts to manipulate others. But the believers are not above a little skullduggery themselves. Threatening mail, for example.
Well, we were very surprised that we did receive 2 letters from a group called the Black Watch, and said that we had to stop making circles in cornfields. I sort of came to the conclusion that whoever it was sending them had some friends in the airline business. One was posted from Colombia and the other one was from Japan.
Of course, everyone denies sending them.
I have never ever done anything to that.
No, I have not.
No, no. And I don't get involved in that.
Oh, no. No.
Not at all.
No, I couldn't see the point of that.
No.
No, why should I?
I have not, no. We've had hang-up phone calls, we've had threatening mail.
Besides the threatening mail, the physical threats, the abuse.
There have been attacks physically on some circle makers, not myself, and on their property.
The damage to cars.
You know, there is a certain risk in doing what we do.
They always seem to phone up when I'm watching a good football match.
A lot of people know a lot more about crop circles in general, about certain crop formations in particular, but they will perpetuate the myth that this is something magical and mystical and meaningful, when they know full well that they've seen the evidence which indicates that it's something man-made, but they won't say so because it pricks their bubble and it knocks them off the gravy train, it puts the brakes on.
And I've had first-hand experience that of people, very big names in the crop circle field, telling stories that are just completely untrue. And it's a shame that that has to happen, because the crop circle mystery is interesting enough as it is, just the hard facts, without needing to invent implausible stories.
I think the more you can add to this phenomenon, the more interest you're going to get worldwide from audiences.
It's the ridiculous fraud, really, that goes on a lot with a lot of people. A lot of the big names that you hear about, yeah, big names.
This climate of misinformation isn't confined to the believers and has prompted the circle makers to also go digital.
It's basically a forum for us to communicate unmediated about ourselves and what we do. Unfortunately, a lot of the time when we actually do interviews, inevitably the interviewer gets the wrong end of the stick or has his own agenda, and in some way the information just gets kind of twisted in some way.
There's even a make-your-own game for those long winter nights. But with a reward for their capture offered by the National Farmers Union, is the risk of real circle making worth it?
Absolutely, but we're not going to get caught or prosecuted. It's a near enough impossible task.
We've had a few near misses, but nothing bad enough to want to make me hang up my stomper.
It was never really a risk, to be frank. I mean, there was never really a risk of being caught.
Unless you're going to mount 24-hour surveillance on every field in the south of England for the period that the crops grow, which simply isn't feasible.
In the early days, you could back your car into the farmer's field in his gateway, pop out, do the circle, get back in the car again and have a cup of coffee, and still stay where you were all the time.
I don't think any circle maker could morally justify what they do.
Yeah, we worry about being caught. We're very careful, and if we get caught, it's a fair cop.
The way believers cope with the man-made evidence presented to them takes 2 forms. One is outright rejection.
Is there any evidence to the contrary?
I don't really take any notice.
Well, I don't know what evidence you're talking about. Evidence to the contrary. What evidence can you give me?
The other is positive thinking.
It doesn't create any problem for me that there is alternative evidence.
Well-made hoaxes are a kind of art. They're really quite marvelous.
If you've got a lot of false 20-pound notes, that doesn't mean that there aren't real 20-pound notes as well. And then sure enough, if you find a real 20-pound note, you only need one magic thing to prove